So you just laughing in your soul because you feel sorry for him. You ain't got to deal with that bullshit no more. Now she do. Girl, I bet you he is cheating on your bitch ass right now. Don't you know next week it's going to be a new girl, you dummy? That is no longer my problem. Well, hello there, love bugs. Hello there, Bellas. If you have not already done so, please remember to like, share to Facebook, subscribe, and visit uptopbeauty.com. Y'all, I haven't been promoting the site recently because I've just been so busy working and doing these videos. And if you are not already a part of this book club, please hit the Patreon link below and or the join button here on the YouTube. And for a small monthly fee of $5, you babies, yes, you can be privy to all the shenanigans before the YouTube gets it, if the YouTube gets it. Now, let's recap and review Patti LaBelle's Don't Block Your Blessings. Revelations of a Lifetime. One moonlit December night, Henry walked into a party and saw Bertha sitting alone at a table. She was 25 at the time, 3 years older than Henry. And the moment he saw her, he got a rush, an electric jolt that ran straight up his spine. Bertha was a real looker, all right. She was on the short side, about 5'3" or so, and she had this smooth as silk skin, the color of gingerbread mixed with honey. But it was more than her looks that cast a spell over Henry. Bertha was cool. She had style. She had attitude. For Henry, it was like looking at a female version of himself. To buy himself some time and some composure, Henry went to the bar and ordered a drink. For half an hour, he just watched Bertha from across the room. When he finished working on his drink and working up his nerve, he smoothed back his hair, straightened his tie, and eased over to her table. And just like that, it happened. Henry probably didn't even know what made him do it, and what made him go right up to this woman he had never seen before and decided to marry her. He didn't know anything about her past. He didn't know that by 14 she was expecting a baby, and by 16 she was the mother of 2. He didn't even know her last name, but none of that would have made a difference. Henry didn't need to analyze the attraction or question it, because the only thing that mattered to him at the magical moment was what he saw in Bertha. During those years, you never have seen two people more in love. She was swept up in the cyclone of Henry Holt's charm. 5 months later, on May 12th, 1941, they were married. And it was a beautiful, beautiful thing. Until it wasn't. Everything started out just fine with Daddy and Chubby. Not long after they got married, Chubby found work cleaning houses in Atlantic City. And for a short while, she lived there alone while my father looked for work. When friends in Philadelphia, Oliver and Florine Lockman, helped my father get a job with Baldwin Locomotive, Chubby left Atlantic City and joined him. Their first home was a bedroom at a friend's house where they stayed for several months. When they bought the house in Elmwood, the whole family was finally under the same roof. Her brother eventually went back down to Florida to live with his uncle and grandmother because he preferred living down there with them on a farm. Patti LaBelle liked being on the farm too, but she chose to stay with her parents. The argument started over my father's gambling. The weekend card parties in our house always seemed like such a kick. Whether you won or lost didn't seem to matter. Everyone came just to eat, drink, and party. The betting was just part of the fun. At least that's what I had always thought. I didn't know there was a dark side, a side where winning and losing were taken seriously, a side where people play for keeps, a side that was anything but fun. My father had always been a good provider, but there came a time when his gambling got the better of him, when his side wages got out of control and the poker games in the basement could no longer satisfy him. He started playing in the street, cards, craps, whatever he could lay a wager on. When his bets got bigger, so did his losses. And when he lost everything, that's when he came home. And when he came home, that's when all hell broke loose. The fights always started out the same way. My father wanted Chubby to give him money. Money he had given her for bills, for groceries, for us. When she refused, and Chubby always refused, my father got mad. And when my father got mad, he got rattlesnake mean. He would scream at Chubby at the top of his lungs. "Give me the money, bitch. Don't make me ask you again." Chubby's answer was always the same. "I'm not giving you a damn dollar, Henry. So take your gambling ass out of here and get out of my face." Word, who the fuck is you talking to, Henry? Who you talking to, Henry? I know you don't want me to whip your ass around here, Henry. It got worse, a lot worse. Sometimes my parents' arguments got so loud I could hear them all the way upstairs. Even when I closed my bedroom door to shut out the screams and shouting, it didn't do much good. I could still hear my father banging his head against the living room wall. I could still hear what he said every time he did it. "Woman, you're going to make me hurt you." And he made good on this threat. He stopped banging on the wall and started banging on Charles. Let me give you a probation story. So I had this young lady. She was on probation for child neglect. And it wasn't because of her neglecting per se her children, like not feeding them, not clothing them. What it was she was so pressed for the baby father that she didn't care about how the abuse manifested in her children. All she had to do was stay away from her baby father, because the system knew that she and her baby father were fighting so brutally and grotesquely around the children that the children were flinching. The judge ordered her to stay away from the baby father. She didn't. She ended up on probation with me. And let me tell you what broke my heart. All she had to do was stay away from that ninja. And she could. It was a birthday party for her children, their children. And I had to violate her because what happened, the baby father came to the birthday party. He was probably living there the whole time, real talk. She probably never put the ninja out. But the court said that man cannot live in your household. I know those are the kids' father, but you cannot have that man in the same area or home or whatever with you. She was so pressed for that nigga. And she used that it was our kid's birthday as a reason to have the ninja around her. What happened? They had a pool party at the apartment. The father came. Lo and behold, that motherfucker came in there and choked the shiz out of her in front of all the kids. The police had to be called. I had to violate her for that. All you had to do is stay away from the nigga. What's wrong with you? Charlize Theron, you and Hancock needed to stay the hell away from each other. See, those fights almost drove me crazy. They did something terrible to me. How can I explain it? They shook me hard and deep, way down to my very center, my core. I became a nervous wreck, flinchy. Every time my father and Chubby fought, which was almost every day, it would start all over again. The shaking, the vomiting, the hysteria. I couldn't control it. I would start trembling all over like a leaf caught in a hurricane. When the shaking stopped, I would break out into hives. As tension between him and Chubby grew, he spent more and more nights away from home, in the company of other women. Chubby may have loved my father blindly, but even she couldn't ignore the evidence staring her in the face. When she found a credit card bill showing Daddy had brought one of his girlfriends a fur coat, Chubby really went off on him. Then she went out looking for her. I don't know what happened to the other woman. All I know is that Chubby came back with a fur coat. It's my fur coat, bitch. When my father moved out, I thought that was as bad as it could get. I was wrong. For me, it got worse, much worse. It's hard for me to describe my feelings. I was a 12-year-old daddy's girl who had lost her daddy and a lot of herself in the process. He had been my life raft and my anchor, and once upon a time our house had been my safe harbor. I watched in horror as the storms rolled in and destroyed it all. Even though I knew Daddy and Chubby couldn't live together anymore, nothing had ever hurt me as much in my life as the day Daddy moved out. I would say the most hurtful moment for me, or one of the most hurtful moments for me as a child, was my mama moving out from my grandmother, because we all lived in certain quarters together. That was the one time we lived in low-income housing in my life, because my mother was only 15 when she had me, so my grandmother could still get low-income housing because she had my mother and me. Okay, so she was able to get a 2-bedroom around there in certain quarters. And baby, when my mama had my sister and it was time for her to move out and marry my stepfather and fly out on her own, I'm telling you, when my mother was packing, I was like, bye, Mom. Bye. We'll see you soon. Bye, Mom. Bye. When I tell you that shit broke my heart, when I had to leave with my mama, I was like, Grandma, you gonna let me go with her? She don't know how to raise no babies. For a while, the only relief came on Daddy's Day. Chubby may have kicked him out of our house, but she didn't kick him out of our lives. As ugly as their separation was, to my parents' credit, they worked it out so my father could see us as often as possible. Thank God for Chubbies. Thank you, Jesus, for the Chubbies around the world, because it's a lot of petty bitches that would stand in the way. And let me not just give you women's the problems. Let me give you men's the problems too, especially yous that be like, well, because I won't fuck her, she won't let me see my baby. You chose her. That's who you chose. You chose the kind of bitch. You don't give her no D, then she won't let you see your child. You chose to be. He would come by a lot. 2, sometimes even 3 times a week. Sometimes he just wanted to see his girls, and sometimes he came to bring Chubby money. I couldn't wait for those visits. It wasn't the same as it used to be. It would never be the same again. But at least for a short time, we were family again. Well, sort of. There was one big difference. In addition to the money, sometimes my father brought the flavor of the month. His latest girlfriend. Honey, during those visits, it was a whole different movie. At least my mother could play the role. She became good at acting, like she didn't care, like it didn't hurt her, like seeing her husband bring his girlfriend over to their house around their children, like it was no big thing. Looking back, I don't know how Chubby did it, but no matter how many times Daddy showed up with some pretty young thing on his arm, she kept her cool. She would walk around laughing and talking and making chit-chat with Daddy's friend as if she couldn't care less. Pause. Sometimes, Patti LaBelle, we don't care less. That's why I'm able to be friends with my exes and their girlfriends. You know why? Because they're not my problem no more. And I actually feel sorry for some of them new hoes, because now you got to deal with all that. Now you got to deal with the pill popping, the anger issues, the filthiness, all the terribles of the relationship that I dealt with. And you know the ninja ain't going to change. The same dirty bastard him or her was to you, they being to them. So you just laughing in your soul because you feel sorry for them. You ain't got to deal with that bullshit no more. Now she do. Hey, girl, I bet you he is cheating on your bitch ass right now. Don't you know next week it's going to be a new girl, you dummy? That is no longer my problem. Now you got to deal with all that gambling. Now you got to hide the money in your bra now. Now that's boop, 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 boop. Your problem now, girl. One day he came by and saw the brand new car one of Chubby's boyfriends had given her. It was parked right in front of the house. Daddy went off.